Let me ask you a simple question. If Indian Railways runs trains at 110, 120, even 130 km per hour, why do journeys still feel slow? Why does your train suddenly stop on an open line? You look outside and think, यहाँ क्यों रुक गए? Why did the train stop here? Now, here is a number that changes everything. Indian Railways runs about 13,000 passenger trains every single day. At the same time, it moves more than 1.4 billion tons of freight every year. And here is the uncomfortable part. Most of these trains run on the same tracks. That's why Indian Railways is building something called Dedicated Freight Corridor (DFC). Most discussions focus on speed, but here is the real question. If speed was the problem, why invest thousands of crores in freight project? Why not just make all trains faster? The answer is simple. Speed is not the bottleneck, capacity is. And freight trains control capacity. This is DFC Chapter 1. By the end of this video, you will understand with numbers why freight trains occupy tracks much longer than passenger trains, why passenger trains lose time even when they are fast, why speed upgrades give limited results, and why DFC matters more to daily passengers than high-speed trains. No opinions, just railway math. Let's start with how Indian Railways actually runs. On most routes, the same tracks carry express trains, passenger trains, suburban trains, heavy freight trains. This is called mixed traffic. Now, here is the first data point. A typical passenger train weighs 600 to 1000 tons. A typical freight trains weigh 4000 to 6000 tons. Sometimes even more, that is 5 to 7 times heavier. Already you can guess the problem. Because of this weight difference, freight trains accelerate slower, freight trains brake slower, freight trains occupy tracks longer. Here is a simple comparison. A passenger train may clear a track section in 6 to 7 minutes. A heavy freight train may take 12 to 18 minutes to clear the same section. That means one freight train can consume the time of 2 or 3 passenger trains. Same track, very different impact. Here is a number most people don't hear. Passenger trains from about 65% of trains movements, but freight trains account for nearly 65% of track occupation time. Let that sink in. Fewer freight trains, but they sit on tracks much longer. So when a passenger train is late, it's often not because it is slow. It is because the track was already occupied. Many routes allow speeds of 110 to 130 km per hour, but actual average speeds tell a different story. Express trains average 50 to 60 km per hour. Passenger trains average 35 to 40 km per hour. Why? Because average speed is destroyed by unplanned stops, waiting outside stations, slowing behind freight trains. A train running continuously at 90 km per hour will beat a train that runs at 130 km per hour but keeps stopping. Passengers feel average speed, not maximum speed. Now people ask, बुल्लेट ट्रेन आ जाएगी ना, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. Bullet trains are fast, no doubt, but bullet trains run on separate tracks, serve limited city pairs, carry zero freight. Even if India builds 10 bullet train corridors, 95% of trains still run on old network. Freight still blocks passenger tracks. Capacity problem remains. Bullet trains improve some routes. DFC improves the entire system. BFC does one very simple thing. It removes freight trains from passenger tracks. That is it. When freight trains move away, track space increases, conflicts reduces, passenger trains stop less. Globally, freight separation improves average passenger speed by 15 to 25% without changing trains, without changing top speed. That is a system fix, not a speed trick. पैसेंजर डोंट आस्क एक्सल लोड क्या है, दे आस्क टाइम पे पहुंचेंगे या नहीं. विथ फ्रेट सेपरेशन, फ्यूअर रैंडम हॉल्ट्स, लेस वेटिंग आउटसाइड स्टेशंस, more predictable journeys. You may never see TFC, but you feel it when trains run smoothly. Let's summarize with data. Freight trains weigh 5 to 7 times more. They occupy tracks 2 to 3 times longer. Mixed traffic waste 30 to 40% capacity. Separation recovers speed without new trains. Speed was never the main problem, capacity was. So remember this simple chain. Freight controls track time controls capacity, capacity controls speed, speed controls passenger experience. Bullet trains create headlines, BFC fix railways, and railways run on numbers, not emotions. This was DFC chapter 1, Why Freight Matters More Than Speed. In DFC chapter 2, we will break down exactly how freight trains decide passengers' train fate, step by step on the tracks. If you want railway content backed by data, watch this series in order. Thank you.